Welcome back, y'all. I am so excited to be able to share with you the second part of my conversation with Josh and Chelsea Williams as they are walking down the pathway of foster parenting and moving to adoption. It's going to be a great show today. Stick with us. Listen to how God is changing their lives, changing the boys' lives, and how God may be calling you to foster parenting also. Here's my conversation with Josh and Chelsea Williams. When you guys got the boys, and there's no shame or shade. They just had come from a difficult moment.
Yes.
What was the first couple of weeks like with the boys at the house, trying to get them to church? And I know they transformed a lot over the next several weeks, but just it was tough.
Oh yeah.
Well, there was a blizzard that Christmas. So we had 3 days to get Christmas. And to give you an example, we went shopping the Christmas Eve, and it was calmer in the stores on Christmas Eve than it was at our house. And so we were like, no, I'll go. I will go.
No, I'll go. Well, no, I'll go.
Stay here. I'll go deal with the crowds. But there was a blizzard, so we were snowed in with these two children who were in a new place, who were.
We found out later.
Were they
detoxing.
were detoxing, and so there was a little extra on that we weren't prepared for.
And you didn't know that, did you?
No.
No.
And they didn't realize it, and they had been taken from where they were, and because there weren't enough foster homes in the area, one of them was sent out of town, and the other one slept on somebody's couch that was a foster parent but didn't have enough room. And so the boys were separated that first night, and so they were brought back together the next day.
And that was the first time in their entire lives they had been separated. So they had the detox stuff causing stress. Being separated for the first time in their lives was stressful.
Away from their
brand
family.
New people that you've never met before. They were all over the place, and it was heartbreaking. It was difficult at the time because even at 3 and 5, they had a fully developed vocabulary.
Oh yeah.
And they would string them together, and if you were the person standing there, you were the one that was getting called the names. And it was just creative. It was just the environment that they had been raised in, and they didn't know any better.
Sure.
And the first time we took them to church, the first time we left the house, we had to get our game face on, and we took them to United, which is a grocery store, and we took them to a different United, the one that we wouldn't know anybody.
Well, of course. I mean,
because we were
not the one you're going to frequent on the regular.
No. And we made it almost the whole trip without a meltdown. It was great. But the first time we took them to church, they were fine. They had bounced around enough in their life that they were just like, okay, we're here now. Okay, all right, whatever. You're strangers, but okay, I'll get in your car. I don't care. And we took them to church, and we don't curse at church.
So we just punched the Sunday school teacher instead.
Yeah,
he did. That was Zechariah too.
So maybe she was asking for you. Don't
know. And I'm like I said, it's no shame or shade. It's just where we were at the time.
It really was. And for all due credit to them, everybody at the church knew the situation. They had been with us as we were walking through getting certified, and never once did that Sunday school teacher have a bad word to say about it, though.
Right. She knew.
It was just, this happened, you need to be aware of it, but she never held it against the boys.
Yeah.
Everybody was great, and they knew that we were what we were dealing with, and bringing these people into our lives and us into theirs, and this whole new situation. And so, during church, before children's sermon and before they go back to the back, because that's at the age, and they're sitting there and they're doing stuff and they're doing and everybody was 100% understanding
Absolutely.
and kind, and had kind words to say to us. And just, I know that there were prayers flowing from all sorts of angles. And
How much of a difference do you think that made?
All the
Oh, yeah.
difference in the world.
oh yeah,
It was,
yeah,
as we were going through the process, prayer is the single most important thing about the entire process. When you're considering going into it, when you're going through the stress of all the paperwork before you even have the children,
Right.
once the boys came in and you start going through all these questions in your head, or are you doing this correctly? Are you emulating what God wants these boys to see? Are you being the correct type of influence? Are you putting them in those correct situations? Prayer is the single most important thing in the entire process. And I actually walked around with 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6 and 7. I wrote it down, put it in my wallet, and carried it every single day. Humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting your cares on him, for he cares for you.
Yep.
Every single day, 3 to 4 times, I just pull that out, read it, pray. Read it, pray. And it's everything.
yeah. We'd have people just stop us and say, "Can we pray over you?" And even if we were too busy with the boys to pray, because lots of things that we knew that it was there and it was getting heard, and so we'd fall into bed and we'd pray. But even if it was the end of the day and we're exhausted and everybody's exhausted and all that, there was just hundreds flying to him, and he was listening and he was answering and he was soothing and he was guiding, and he was doing all that just without us asking. And when we were asking, just, life is difficult, and in that situation it was really difficult, and we were covered up, and it was felt, and it was good.
So a lot of patience, a lot of time, a lot of reminding of what the rules are at the house.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time spent in the corner, or to whatever degree you were allowed to do that as foster parents.
No, corners are fine.
Corners are fine.
Acceptable.
Put your nose on this spot and a little higher. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've gotten a lot more creative since then.
You have to, because they do.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So you're fostering for like a year. Was it about a year when you began to understand that adoption of these two would have been an option?
Well, we had gone into the whole process in the beginning knowing that we wanted to adopt.
Sure.
And that was one of the criteria that we put in there. Was it's what they call legal risk.
Okay.
Until the parents' rights are terminated,
Right.
there's not a guarantee of adoption.
Sure.
But based on their case history, they will probably be available.
Okay.
There's no guarantee
for adoption, but there was never a guarantee. And about a year into it,
Mm-hmm.
through several of the court meetings, it had came up that we could contest for guardianship. I forget what the actual term was.
Well, with them, they always want the children to be with some type of family. That is best
Right.
case
If
scenario.
at all possible. Yeah.
If at all possible, which that's great. And
Right.
they go to the ends of the earth, down to your 18th cousin, twice removed, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we got them in December, and then that summer, they had been reaching out to families since they were first placed. And then that summer, they found 3 different times, they found 3 different family members who said, yes, we'll take them. Well, they have to go through a process as well. It's not just, oh, your blood, here's 2 children.
Right.
And so the first one fell through. And then they found the second one and said, okay, well, if this goes through 3 weeks, 3 weeks or a month, then they'll move. Okay. And then that one fell through. And then the third one fell through, and they're like, this one's going to work. This one's going to work. What we need you to do is she lives in Arizona. We need you to facilitate
It was a distant aunt,
cousin.
yeah.
Hang on just a second. So what's going through your heart and your mind in the first one? I mean, the roller coaster of up and down of, okay, so if this happens, I mean, we know that there's a risk. We knew that going into it, but you know,
For me, it was a heartbreaker
Yeah.
because it got to a point for basically 6 months, for a 6-month time period. We
Yeah.
were told every week, 3 to 6 weeks.
They're leaving. They're gone.
And that we were told that every week for 6 months.
We couldn't plan summer vacations.
We
Yeah.
planned
and
our
you certainly
entire
couldn't
life.
tell them.
Do what?
You couldn't tell them,
No,
Oh,
the
absolutely.
boys. I mean,
no.
We planned our week. We planned from Monday to Sunday, and we never made any plans past Sunday.
past Sunday, yeah.
And that was
That's what we did.
that was life. That was just how we had to operate.
It was heartbreaking. What helped me during that time period was seeing how far they had come and how much they had changed, and I was trying to look at the glass half full. If they do leave, at least for the time period that they were with us, the lasting impact and the way that they have changed and are living their lives now, that hopefully that would carry forward in their life, that we had enough positive impact to carry forward and to help them be better people. Because who they were when they came to us, they were 3 and 5, but they were
completely different boys by the time it came to that.
yeah.
And it's hard because you develop this relationship. They are your children at that point in your eyes, and you love them like that. And when you're having to introduce your children to their cousin who is going to be their mother, you have to foster that relationship, and CPS put that fully in our pocket. And so we were talking with her constantly and arranging video calls.
I wouldn't let her talk to them until I got to know her, because I wasn't going to let a stranger talk to my children.
Mama Bear.
Nope, you're going to pass me before you talk to them. So she and I talked for several days, a couple hours, getting to know each other before I felt comfortable even introducing them.
And that probably wasn't CPS guidelines,
I
but
don't care.
it was Mama Bear guidelines.
Mama
That's
Bear.
right. That's right. That's
And
right.
it turns out that she was approved 100% to take them. And all she had to do was say yes. And the day, God works in mysterious ways, the day
And
that...
the prayer came.
Yes.
Yes. The day that CPS approved her, her marriage broke up, and she was 24 and left with her 3-year-old son. And so she called me and said, listen, this was approved, but I've decided to decline them because I know that they're in a good place and they're where they need to be. So I'm going to decline taking the boys.
We were so thankful to hear that news.
And I felt so bad for her, but that's how God works in it. He put us in the hardest position that we could be in, is introducing your children to their new mother, or what will be their new mother.
Right.
And he had us do it so that when that time came, she was comfortable leaving the boys with us.
And they were
And
calling us,
how God had his hands in everything that we thought he was just, sometimes you just feel like you're getting beat down, and how he turns around and says, hold on, pay attention. This is why I did it this way.
Yeah.
hindsight's 2020. We're like, oh,
It was amazing to see. And
yeah, it's neat to look back and know where we were at the time, and you know, you can't see your face through the fog or whatever the saying is, but to look back and see what he did from day one, even before day one, in this whole thing, it was incredible to look back and see it. So, and be able to see the miracles that he worked, and know that we were a part of those. It's neat.
It's amazing.
It's a neat part of our history.
So we get through all of that. So you still have to go prove yourself before the courts, and they've got to go through all of that. And you get to what adoptive parents will call Gotcha Day.
Gotcha Day.
Gotcha Day.
Yes.
When is Gotcha Day for you?
It is
It was April 13th, 2017. And it's, Isaiah said it best. We all wore shirts that said gotcha.
Yeah.
And the judge asked him, and he said, "What does your shirt mean?" And he said, "Well, it says gotcha." And he goes, "Well, what does that mean?" He said, "It means we got them and they got us."
We got each other.
We got each other. And that's,
Oh, it was absolutely
good.
amazing. It was the greatest day ever.
it was good.
It was, everything had a purpose. All the highs, all the lows, all the stress. I mean, how many times did I go crying on your shoulder? Literally breaking down in tears on your shoulder.
Yep.
And it was, what can happen if you just get out of the way and let God do what God wants to do, how he wants to do it.
Right.
It couldn't ask for anything more. You really couldn't.
Sure.
We went to lunch with you and some of our family members, and then our gotcha day, we came home and the boys were out of school and we were off of work, and we came home and we just played games, and we just, for the boys, we tried not to, the boys weren't in court that day. They didn't, they weren't a part of any of that. And there's a lot of the stuff that they don't know yet. And we've told them when it's age appropriate, we will give you that information, because that's your history. And so I don't know, the boys knew it was official. But in the same hand, we continued living life as we had been living it. They were calling us mom and dad, and we came home and we played games and we had fun, and we were a full family unit that afternoon and just hung out. So we didn't have banners, and we didn't have, and I know a lot of people do, and that's fantastic. But for us, we came home and we continued our family afternoon and our hanging out and our,
in some ways life changed dramatically, and in some ways life didn't change at all.
Yeah.
We had a lot less people in our house.
No more home visits, no more CPS,
CASA and other, and it was just, we were us now. We were the Williams family, and they had their last name, and it was all good.
Yeah,
it was all good things.
How has parenting changed you these last 3 years, 4 years?
The whole process in parenting it's all about the relationship between you and your spouse. Kids are amazingly resilient creatures. And I have made more mistakes than I want to sit down and count. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
And your style comes off of how your relationship with your spouse is, and how you complement each other. And it's the team effort of parenting. Like, it brings you together as a couple more, and you start having all of these conversations that you've never had before, and brings you closer together. And for me, it's been a lot of trial by error is how I learned how to parent. I mean, I had some good influences, but you always develop your own style. And
absolutely.
kids are amazingly resilient, and they'll love you, and they'll teach you how to do better, and you'll teach them how to do better. And
Right.
it's just a good fun back and forth.
I agree with all of that. And we talked earlier because you sent questions, and so we kind of went through them earlier. And,
Sure.
one of the things that I don't know, focused or as we were talking, because these questions you don't necessarily think about them in your day-to-day afternoon. Get home from work and hello, husband, answer these questions for me. But we did that this afternoon, and the forgiveness and the love that I have for them, and the mama bear that I have for them, and just I would do anything for them, and I'm always going to love them, and I'm always going to forgive them, as they're kids and they're growing up and all that. And it just reminds me of Jesus' love for us, and his giving and his sacrifice and his forgiveness. And it's not always deserved, but you're going to get it. And so not that my relationship with my kids is anywhere near as his, but I understand more. He is the father, and that relationship is more defined now more than it ever was before.
The amount of love and forgiveness that you have for them. Did you think you had that much in you prior to this? Did you?
To answer it truthfully, I thought I did. I found out very fast I didn't. And that's where that prayer comes into place, and he'll give it to you.
Okay.
But yeah, going into it, I was like, we got this.
It's fine.
And,
It's fine.
Yeah, we all talked about that.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure there was a lot of all the parents sitting around going, "Oh, yeah."
They thought.
Hey, yeah.
So
We'll
going
see.
into it, yes, I thought I was. I found out very quickly how wrong I was.
We thought we were more prepared, but we weren't.
Right.
But you get there, and through a lot of prayer and a lot of help and the people around us, I think you develop that as you go along. So
he wouldn't give us anything that we couldn't handle. And even though there were days that we didn't think we could handle it, we could, and we did. And it's he led us down that path, and he put obstacles in the way, and he put people to help in the way, and he had this whole plan, and we had no idea, and we were just sink or swim is what it felt like most days. And he knew we were going to swim, and we didn't, but we trusted, and we did. So it was it sounds like it was all bad. There was so much good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So very much good, and it was absolutely 100% worth all of the pain and all of the heartache. And
absolutely,
even still, I mean, we're not an adoptive family. We're just in a family, and we have the normal problems that other families have.
Right.
Just the normal stuff for the most part.
Yeah.
But it's all thanks to him. All the good, the bad, the ugly. It was all worth it. It was good.
So if somebody was thinking of fostering or adopting, I mean, the first ones that you bring into your home, you end up adopting. That's not normal.
No,
Probably
we were very fortunate in that. We had a long road to get there.
Right.
That the other stuff we went through definitely wasn't typical.
Right.
But yeah, ending up being able to adopt your first placement
probably not normal.
is yes.
Yeah.
It's probably not the normal circumstance. We actually have a family at our current church that went through the same process and did the fostering, and they had a child with them for several months, and then he decided he was 13 or 14, and he decided that home wasn't where he wanted to be. And
He left.
He left, and
Wow.
and they got another placement, and they ended up adopting a brother and sister from their second placement.
Cool.
Wednesday night, there were 12 children at the Wednesday night event, and
Mhm.
half of them were adopted. So
That's fun.
it
That's
was
amazing.
It's the thing you have to remember is he won't give you more than you can handle, and you just
Yeah, you
have-
will. That's how you figure out your faith.
it's
I would say you have to have a. Did I interrupt you?
go.
Sorry. You have to have a heart for it. I think that fostering and adopting, it's a calling. It's not just, there are some people who want to do good works, and everybody has that something in their heart that they're called to. And I
Right.
think that you need to listen to that, and your spouse needs to be on the same page
Sure.
as you, and you need to go into it with open hearts and know that we didn't get all the information at the very beginning. We didn't get all the information at the end.
Mhm.
It's a broken system, and there are broken children, and you seriously you need to have the heart for it, and your heart's going to hurt whether they're with you or they're not. And one of the things I hear a lot is, well, I just couldn't handle it if I had somebody in my house and then they left. I couldn't handle that. And I hear that from people that maybe not all the time, but a lot of the times, then you don't have the heart for it. That's not your calling. And that's not a bad thing. Everybody has their own place, but it sucks. Having that dangle over your head or have it actually happen. And we've had that happen to lots of friends,
Right.
and it's horrible. But as bad as it is for you, it's the child that has to be number one. And
Yeah.
if they're going back to their home, or if they're going to another placement, or whatever the case is,
Right.
you have to put that in God's hands, and what will be, and that's
Sure.
his choice. And you have to do the best you can in this situation. So whether they're with you for 3 months or 3 days, you can have a lasting impact on that child, and your heart may break 100%.
But you may fix a heart in the process.
Right.
And you just have to measure whether that's worth it to you. And the communication between the spouses, you have to be able to have very open conversations of,
Sure.
hey, I've hit my breaking point. And just be able to be extremely open and honest. Because if you hide something, all you're doing is creating a negative impact on a child that's already gone through
Mm-hmm.
so many drastic things.
Yeah.
So it's just about communication and opening your heart.
Our God is a tremendous God, and He changes our lives and He works in our lives. Tune in next week as we have another opportunity for a Talk It Out Tuesday. Join us on Tuesdays as we answer questions live, or if you've sent them in ahead of time. You all have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.